You don't lose people or dreams when you let go. You lose the illusion that you ever controlled them. That single truth, simple as it sounds, is the beginning of freedom, and for most people, the breaking point. Because here's the secret no one tells you. Most people don't break because life is cruel. They break because they try to hold too tightly. We grip. We clench. We script the story in our heads about how life should unfold. How people should love us. How our plans should work out. And then, when life dares to move differently, when it bends instead of obeying, we panic. We think something's gone wrong. But the truth is, something is finally going right. There's a quiet violence in control, the kind that looks like discipline but feels like suffocation. You call it planning, ambition, protection, responsibility. But underneath it lives fear. Fear that if you stop steering for even a second, everything will crash. So you tighten your hands around the wheel, white-knuckled, exhausted, whispering to yourself, just a little longer, just one more effort. And yet, life doesn't reward tightness. It rewards trust. The river doesn't carry the rock that resists it, it carries what flows. If you've ever felt that constant pressure to keep it together, to hold everyone else up while you're quietly falling apart, this is your moment to pause. Because maybe you're not meant to hold anymore. Maybe you're meant to let go. The paradox of this path is beautiful and cruel. You think letting go will make you lose everything, but it's actually how you find everything. Peace, clarity, direction. They all live in the space that opens once your hands finally release. The Buddha taught that clinging is the root of suffering. And neuroscience agrees, the tighter you try to control the unpredictable, the more your brain floods with anxiety. But the instant you surrender, the moment you say, I can't force this anymore, something ancient in you exhales. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. Because the heart was never built to control life, it was built to move with it. So today, we stop holding. We let the jaw soften, the shoulders drop, the breath deepen. We stop forcing, fixing, chasing. And we let life breathe again, through us, not against us. Maybe this is what the real breakpoint means. Not the moment you fall apart, but the moment you finally stop fighting the fall. Not the end of strength, but the beginning of surrender. Because the truth is, life doesn't break you to punish you. It breaks you open, so that something wiser, freer, and infinitely calmer can finally take your place. Welcome to Dharma Veins. Here, we don't run from impermanence, we learn to walk with it. We explore the space between effort and ease, between control and clarity. And in that stillness, we remember what peace really feels like. So take a breath. Let go. And let life breathe again. Chapter 1: The Illusion of Control. You've never really controlled anything, you've just worried louder. Let that sink in. We plan, we predict, we prepare, but when was the last time any of that actually gave you peace? Not progress, not productivity, peace. The kind that makes you unclench your jaw and exhale without realizing it. That view itself is the lesson. Life moves whether you approve or not. You don't own this moment. You're only here to experience it. I once knew a woman who planned her happiness like a spreadsheet: new job, new partner, new apartment. On paper, everything aligned perfectly. But she'd wake up at 3 a.m., heart racing, replaying tomorrow's to-do list. The checklist was complete, but peace wasn't on it. That's the tragedy of control. The more you try to hold, the more it slips through your fingers. In Buddhist psychology, this tension has a name: upādāna. Clinging. It's the mind's attempt to make the impermanent permanent. And every time we cling, we collide with anicca, impermanence itself, and out of that collision arises dukkha. The quiet suffering that hums beneath even our best planned lives. Control feels rational, but it's just fear wearing a suit. We think if we plan enough, we can outrun uncertainty, yet all we build is exhaustion. Science calls it the illusion of control. Buddhism calls it grasping, and the feeling in your chest calls it anxiety. What if you redefined control, not as domination, but as cooperation with reality? The Buddha's term hiccu pratyaya means causes and conditions. You influence what you can, your intention, your clarity, your action, then you bow to what isn't yours, the weather. Other people's choices, The timing of things. That surrender isn't passivity, it's precision. Think of it like flying a kite. Pull too hard, it nosedives. Loosen too much, it falls. The sweet spot is responsive balance, effort guided by trust. You steer, the wind decides. Ask yourself right now, am I creating or controlling? Creation feels alive, control feels tight. When the grip softens, wisdom flows in. That's when life stops resisting you because you've finally stopped resisting life. And if one thing feels unbearably heavy right now, one outcome, one identity, one opinion, just breathe and whisper. Let it unfold. Because peace was never in the plan. It was always hiding in the pause. Chapter 2: The Paradox of Letting. A kite doesn't rise by holding tighter, it rises when released. It's such a simple image. Yet it holds one of the most misunderstood truths in modern life. The more you chase control, the smaller your sky becomes. I used to believe effort alone could solve everything, that if I just worked harder, planned smarter, and kept my guard up, peace would eventually appear as a reward. But the truth was cruelly beautiful. Every time I forced life to go my way, I lost the very flow that makes life meaningful. I once chased success until I forgot peace. And when I finally stopped forcing, everything aligned quietly, not because the world changed, but because I did. That's the paradox of letting go. It feels like losing power. Yet it's the moment you reclaim it. Because real power has never come from tightening your grip, it comes from mastering your release. In Buddhist philosophy, this paradox is embodied in the teaching of non-attachment, analasya, a state where presence replaces possession. Non-attachment isn't apathy or disinterest, it's intelligence. It's knowing that clinging doesn't protect joy, it strangles it. Think of the lotus. It doesn't bloom because it fights the mud. It blooms because it trusts the water to lift it. Modern psychology calls this cognitive flexibility, the ability to move with change instead of collapsing under it. The mind addicted to control sees surrender as defeat. But in Buddhism, surrender is a shift in authorship, from the ego to awareness. You stop writing every line of your story, and start reading what life is already trying to tell you. Letting go doesn't mean giving up your ambition or your dreams. It means releasing the anxiety that poisons them. When you detach from outcome, your actions become cleaner, no longer driven by fear of failure or hunger for praise. That's when creativity, love, and peace naturally rise, like that kite, light enough for the wind to carry. Ask yourself honestly, what in your life are you gripping so tightly that you've stopped feeling its beauty? The job, the person, the image of who you thought you should be? Sometimes the universe doesn't say, no, it just says, not while you're gripping. So today, loosen your hold, take one deep breath and whisper to yourself, I am not losing control. I am regaining trust. Because letting go isn't losing power, it's returning to it. And once you return, everything begins to rise again, naturally, quietly, freely. Chapter 3: Stop overthinking. Start breathing. Overthinking is like stirring muddy water. The more you move it, the less you see. And yet, we do it constantly. We stir and stir, convinced that if we just think a little more, the answer will magically appear. But clarity doesn't live in noise. It lives in stillness. The Buddha called this restless mental state the monkey mind, always jumping from branch to branch, craving certainty, terrified of silence. In modern psychology, it's the loop of cognitive rumination, replaying, predicting, editing the past in hopes of protecting the future. But both describe the same suffering, a mind that mistakes motion for meaning. When your thoughts start spinning, it feels productive. You tell yourself you're problem solving, but what you're really doing is avoiding feeling. Overthinking is often fear in disguise, fear of loss, fear of uncertainty, fear of simply sitting with what is. You can't outthink fear, you can only outbreath it. Let's test something right now. Stop reading for a moment. Inhale gently through your nose. Feel the air move in. Now exhale through your mouth, not to control, just to release. That moment, that tiny pause between breath and thought, is where peace lives. Try it again. Inhale peace. Exhale the story. Notice how the body softens without permission. Notice how the noise fades. Not because you forced it, but because you stopped feeding it. This is the paradox of awareness. The mind clears itself the moment you stop trying to clear it. In Buddhist practice, this is called vipassana, insight through observation. You don't push thoughts away, you watch them settle on their own. The pond doesn't become clear because you fight the mud. It becomes clear because you let gravity and patience do the work. When your head feels crowded, remember this. Thinking isn't the problem, clinging to every thought is. You are not the voice that worries, you are the space that hears it. And in that space, you're already free. So next time your mind begins its midnight meetings, the endless what-ifs, the imaginary conversations, the planning that feels like panic, stop. Close your eyes, find your breath, and whisper, I don't need to solve this now. I just need to breathe. Because peace never comes from more analysis. It comes from awareness, and the courage to let stillness finish the sentence your mind keeps interrupting. Chapter 4: Caring without control. Sometimes we love so much we crush the very thing we want to protect. It sounds noble, staying up late to fix, to help, to hold everything together, but beneath that nobility often hides fear. The fear of losing someone. The fear of being unneeded. The fear that if you stop trying, everything will fall apart. But here's the truth that took me years of study, heartbreak, and meditation to understand. Real compassion isn't fixing, it's presence. In Buddhism, compassion, karuna, and attachment, upādāna, look similar from the outside. Both care deeply, both want to relieve suffering, but the energy behind them is completely different. Attachment says, I'll make you okay so I can feel safe. Compassion says, I'll walk with you, even if it's uncomfortable. One binds, the other frees. I once mentored a young man who was drowning in guilt over his mother's pain. He thought if he could just say the right thing, do the right thing, she'd finally be happy. But each time he tried to fix her, she grew more withdrawn. His care felt like pressure, not love. The moment he stopped trying to manage her emotions and just listened, truly listened, she started to heal on her own. That's the paradox of presence. When you release control, the heart you're trying to save finally has space to breathe. Modern psychology calls this differentiation, the ability to care for someone without losing yourself in their storm. It's what Buddhism calls upekkha, equanimity, love rooted in wisdom, not in fear. Because when love is wise, it doesn't smother, it witnesses. Look around your own life. Maybe you're the one always holding the emotional first aid kit, patching up friends, smoothing every conflict, carrying everyone's peace on your shoulders. You think it's compassion, but sometimes it's control dressed as care. You can't heal people by constantly rescuing them. You heal them by trusting their path, even when it leads through pain. So next time your instinct is to fix, pause. Ask yourself, am I helping? Or am I managing? Then soften your hands, soften your voice, and simply stay present. That silent space between you and the other person, that's where love actually grows. Because love, real love, doesn't cling. It doesn't need to rearrange someone else's soul to feel secure. It simply holds space, like sunlight through an open window, gentle, warm, enough. Love grows in space, not in grasping. And when you finally understand that, your love stops being a cage and becomes a sanctuary. Chapter 5: You are not your thoughts. You are not the storm, you are the sky. That's not poetry. It's neuroscience wrapped in ancient wisdom. Most people live trapped inside their own weather, pulled by thunderous worries. Drenched in regret, frozen by fear, they forget that behind every passing thought, there's an open, untouched awareness, the sky that never storms. The Buddha taught this 2,500 years ago. And now cognitive science is catching up. What Buddhism calls non-identification, or anatta, the absence of a solid, separate self, psychology calls cognitive diffusion, the skill of stepping back from your thoughts instead of drowning in them. It's the art of watching the movie without believing you are the movie. Here's how the storm begins. A single thought appears, I'm not enough. You don't notice it, you fuse with it. Suddenly, your entire body reacts, your breath tightens, your shoulders rise, and before you know it, you're living as if that one sentence were absolute truth. But what if you could pause? even for 2 seconds, and whisper. This is just thinking. That's not denial, that's awareness. It's the exact moment you step from actor to observer, from victim to witness. You realize the thought isn't you, it's just weather passing through consciousness. In meditation, this is the shift from identification to observation. In daily life, it's the moment you stop arguing with the mind and start listening to it. And here's the beauty: when you stop wrestling your thoughts, they lose their grip. The storm dissolves not because you fought it, but because you stopped feeding it. Try this practice. The next time your mind starts screaming, replaying that conversation, predicting disaster, doubting your worth, don't fight it. Just say silently, this is thinking. Then breathe once, fully. Feel the breath move through the body, the only thing that's ever truly happening now. You'll notice something subtle: the thought doesn't disappear, but your attachment to it does. And in that tiny gap between thought and awareness, that's where freedom lives. Because you were never meant to control the storm. You were meant to remember you are the sky, vast, still, and untouched by the weather passing through. Chapter 6: The Whatever Mindset. Whatever happens, I remain. Those 4 words hold a kind of peace most people spend a lifetime chasing. They sound simple, almost careless, but this is not apathy. It's mastery. The mountain doesn't move because it doesn't need to. It doesn't rush to prove its strength. It simply stands, steady through the rain, unshaken by the wind. That's what the whatever mindset really is: not detachment from life, but alignment with it. In a world addicted to reaction, neutrality feels rebellious. Everyone's rushing to defend, to correct, to control. But Buddhism teaches upekkha, the virtue of equanimity, an inner steadiness that says, I will not abandon my calm just because the world forgot its own. Indifference isn't coldness, it's trust. Trust that life knows what it's doing, even when you don't. Trust that you can endure change without losing your center. This isn't resignation, it's resilience. When you say, whatever happens, I remain, you're not giving up responsibility, you're reclaiming sanity. You're saying, I choose my response over my reflex. That's emotional sovereignty, the heart of both Buddhist psychology and modern mindfulness therapy. In Zen, they call this immovable mind, fudoshin, the ability to act decisively while staying untouched by chaos. You stop taking every event as a personal verdict. Someone misunderstands you? Let them. A plan falls apart? Adjust. A door closes? Sit for a moment and let silence reveal what's next. The power of the whatever mindset is that it protects your peace without hardening your heart. It's not, I don't care. It's, I care deeply. But I refuse to drown. Try this right now. Think of something that recently shook you: a comment, a setback, a piece of news. Inhale once, slowly. Exhale and whisper, whatever happens, I remain. Feel how that sentence pulls you out of panic and back into presence. And if it resonates, type it below. I remain, to remind yourself, and others here, that peace isn't the absence of storms. It's learning to be the mountain. Chapter 7: The Final Surrender. Surrender is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's the quiet realization that fighting the current doesn't make you strong, it only makes you tired. We spend so much of our lives rowing upstream, forcing outcomes, overmanaging our futures, clinging to the illusion that effort alone can rewrite destiny. But life, in its deeper intelligence, moves on its own rhythm. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is to stop paddling and let the river carry you. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means giving space for what's true to rise. In Buddhist teaching, this is the shift from tanha, craving, to panna, wisdom. You release the desperate, I must, and return to the gentle, I trust. It's not passivity, it's participation without resistance. You still act, but you no longer grip. There's a story from the Zen tradition about a master pouring tea into his student's cup. The cup fills, then overflows, but the master keeps pouring. Why are you spilling it? The student cries. Because, the master says, like this cup, your mind is already full. Surrender begins the moment you stop filling your own cup with what you think you know, and allow something greater to pour in. In modern language, surrender is the mind's reset button. It breaks the feedback loop of control and fear. The moment you say, "I don't know," and that's okay, your nervous system unclenches. Your breath deepens. Your body remembers what peace feels like. And in that softening, clarity begins to rise, not because you forced it, but because you finally made room for it. Life is always whispering its direction, but control is loud. When you quiet the noise of how it should be, you begin to hear what it is becoming. That's the wisdom of surrender. It replaces panic with presence, resistance with rhythm. You become like the bamboo, bending, not breaking. So ask yourself gently, where am I still rowing against the current? What truth am I too afraid to let surface? Because the moment you stop clinging, life finally finds you. The people meant for you flow closer. The answers you've chased begin to appear. And the path that once felt impossible slowly clears, step by step, under your feet. Surrender is not about loss, it's about alignment. It's when your will stops shouting and starts listening. It's when your soul says quietly, I'm done fighting what is. I'm ready to move with it. And that's when everything, peace, clarity, love, and purpose, finally falls into place. Maybe this is how peace truly begins, not in control, not in certainty, but in surrender. Because when you stop holding the world by its throat, it finally begins to breathe again. And in that breath, life finds its rhythm, gentle, steady, enough. If this message touched something inside you, let it stay. Don't rush to label it or analyze it. Just let it sit, like sunlight on still water. And as you move back into your day, remember, the world doesn't need you to fix everything. It just needs you to be awake, kind, and present wherever you are. Here on Dharma Veins, we walk that path together, learning to loosen our grip on fear, on control, on old identities, until what's left is simple awareness and genuine peace. If you found calm or clarity in this moment, I invite you to share it forward. Click like so more people can find their own moment of stillness. Subscribe if you want to keep traveling deeper into Buddhist wisdom, not as a belief, but as a daily practice of presence. And in the comments below, tell me, what are you learning to let go of right now? What truth are you ready to allow instead of forcing? Your reflections might be the words someone else needs to read today. Before we close, let us take a breath together, not in silence, but in compassion. Let it be a prayer, not in religion, but in humanity. May all beings everywhere, in every corner of the world, those facing storms, hunger, and war, those who feel forgotten, frightened, or alone, find safety in their breath, and courage in their heart. May the light of the Buddha's compassion reach them, easing their suffering, guiding them home to peace. And may each of us become a small vessel of that light. Calm in chaos, gentle in power, and kind in every thought. The Buddha once said, thousands of candles can be lit from a single flame, and the life of that flame will not be shortened. So let this be your candle. Carry it quietly into the world. Until next time, breathe softly, walk slowly, and remember, peace was never out there. It's been flowing through you all along.